Hi, lovelies. My name is Jessica, and welcome to Makeup Misfit. And you guys, I think I may have thrown myself a curveball with this palette, but before I get into my update, I'm just going to do a very quick rundown of how I'm doing Project Level Up this year. So if you didn't see or you missed the intro, I will have my playlist linked down below. But basically, I went through my collection and I chose only 7 palettes to be eligible for this project. And out of those 7 palettes, I would be happy if I was using them in the lower levels and or the higher levels. I just wanted to show them a lot more love. So last month at the intro, I rolled in my level 1 palette, and sure enough, I rolled in my Pat McGrath Huetopian Dreams palette. Now I said that I would have been okay with this as a level 2 palette as well, but let me just say I'm excited that this was actually my level 1 palette. So before I show you guys the progress and what this palette looks like, at the intro, I also said that I wasn't sure what shade I wanted to hit pan on. It was more than likely going to be a shimmer, maybe one of the 2 specialty fun shades that are at the end of each row in this palette. And I knew it wasn't going to be an issue to use every shade in the palette once. And spoiler, it wasn't. I have completed that part of the goal. The first the first 6 shades of the palette I used within just one look alone. And then the remaining 4, I kind of sporadically used them in other looks. And I got that goal met pretty early on in this project. Then I had to really sit down and think about what shade I wanted to focus in on to hit pan. And of course, focusing on a shimmer shade would make it so much easier, and I started working on one of them. But then I had a thought process, and I kind of went on about this in Panning Solitaire, which was kind of the wrong project to do that, but it was about that time that I was thinking about this, or just a little bit beforehand, so that's probably why I rambled there about it. But I was thinking, as much fun and as easier it is, and as much satisfaction and motivation and encouragement it is to hit pan in a shimmer, there's just something that extra satisfying, for me at least, hitting pan in a matte. Even though they are a lot more difficult, especially when they're super hard pressed, there's just something about hitting pan in a matte shade where I feel a little bit more accomplished than I would a shimmer. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm definitely hitting pans in shimmers. That's not gonna stop anything. But what I was really sitting down and thinking about when I wanted to figure out what shade I wanted to really focus in on was, come the end of this year, beginning of next year, when I restart my project pans, I don't want to sit with my collection and see that I have only matte shades or a majority of matte shades left to hit pan on and have all of my shimmers already with pan. I like to have, doesn't have to be an even mix, but a close mix of mattes and or shimmers to choose from. So I ended up going with a matte shade in this palette. Now, even though I'm still working on it, where I'm at right now, I'm actually happy that I chose a matte shade opposed to a shimmer shade, because I think because it's the fact that it's a Pat McGrath palette, hitting pan, for one, is just an accomplishment. But hitting pan in a matte shade in a Pat McGrath palette, I feel it's just that little bit extra. So even though hitting pans and shimmers is great and I love it and I feel so accomplished and so successful and satisfied and happy and motivated and encouraged to keep on doing it and work through palettes and shades so much faster in my collection, and I can have so many more pans hit within a certain time frame just by focusing on shimmers, I think that I really want to hone in, and not every shade, but really focus in on a couple of mattes this year, just to kind of pull up that percentage or the amount of mattes that I have hit, so that when I do have to choose palettes for next year or look at my collection at the end of the year, I'm not looking at strictly only mattes that I have to work on next year, because then that's not going to be any fun for me either. I don't want to feel forced to focus on mattes or forced to focus on shimmers. Even if I only focus on mattes, it would be the same thing, because I don't want to feel like that extra accomplishment for every single shade that I hit having to be a matte, if you know what I mean, if that makes any sense. I like a good mix between the two. They're both fun. There's just that little bit extra work, but a little bit of extra satisfaction. Like I said, just for me, everybody's got their own opinions. But for me, hitting pan in a matte shade is just that little bit extra, and especially a Pat McGrath palette, something that's known to be a little bit harder and a little bit more notorious to try and hit pan in. It's just that touch bit more of accomplishment and satisfaction, and really, truly still feeling successful that I was able to hit pan in a matte shade in a Pat McGrath palette, or any other harder pans that are normally hard to hit. So with that being said, I'm going to show you guys this palette. Now, I had to change the notebook that I was doing my little drawings in and keeping track in, because the page that I was focusing on actually ripped out of the book, and I didn't want to have that continue to happen. So I just started a brand new notebook. So I'm going to show you guys. This is what it's looking like. Now, I was keeping track in here with how many uses as well, but I think what I'm going to do is when I hit pan on the shade, I'm just going to go throw an X into whatever shade that is. Just so when I do happen to kind of look back at this, I know exactly what I was doing, and I'm just keeping track of numbers down here. So if you're looking at it, you can tell which shade I've been focusing in on and how many uses I have so far. But I will get back to this in just a minute, and I'm going to show you what my palette is currently looking like. And I am happy with the progress, so far. So it is a little bit messy. I did clean it up a little bit. But as you can see, I have a lot of fallout. I cleaned it up, like I said. There's still a little bit around here. But this is the shade that I have been focusing in on. So we're just going to chat a little bit about the palette first. Like I said, I did reach for every shade in here one time. That was hit and goal met rather early on in this project. These 6 shades I used all together. It was so simple, so easy. I knew it wasn't going to be an issue. And then these 4 shades here I paired with other looks, and I really enjoyed how everything came out. So to grab my notebook, going in order, this first shade, I'm not going to list out the shade names because sometimes they're a little bit ridiculous, but I've used this shade one time. This is the shade I'm currently working on, so we will come back and chat about that one at the end. This shade right here, I've used one time. This one I have also used one time. This one I've actually used 6 times. So this is the shade that I started working on thinking I was going to hit pan in here, and then I had that little spark come and say, you know, maybe focusing on a matte shade isn't such a bad idea. So I still continue to use this a couple of times, but I kind of let that usage go. And I really started honing in on this matte shade and also other shimmers that I have in my collection, ones that I'm working on and whatnot. So then down here, I have one use, one use, one use, one use, and I have 2 uses. I actually used this one yesterday, and I really enjoyed how it looked. Now, with the shade that I'm currently working on, this shade name is called Secret Eden, and I have, as of today, 25 uses on that shade. Now, I'm wearing it in my crease, and this shade pairs really well with a couple other shades that I'm currently working on. I have mentioned that in the other projects that those other shades are in, but one of them is Fuzzy Wuzzy from my Too Faced Teddy Bear palette that is in Panning Solitaire. And then in Beauty Chest, I rolled in 2 mattes from my What's Up Beauty Geodes palette, and the one shade that I started working on, and that is Rhyodnite. And the 3 of those shades all together, I really enjoy how they look. So a lot of the times this is mainly in the center of my crease, but I definitely blow it out and I kind of pull it right towards the end. But I have found that no matter what I put on my lids, I have thoroughly enjoyed the looks that have come out with this. This mauvey, light burgundy kind of crease with any shimmer, really, that I have worn, and I've gone through quite a bit this year. January has felt like a year, let me tell you. But just January alone, I have worn a bunch of different shimmers on my lids, and I have really been enjoying the looks. I have been enjoying the pairings. I've enjoyed things thinking that it wasn't going to turn out so well, and then I actually liked it a lot better than I thought I was going to after I've completely finished off my eye look with mascara and the liner and the whole thing. And I've really, really been happy with how my eye looks have been turning out this month. And I just find that they've all been pairing really well with this shade as a crease. So I have no issue trying to focus in on this for the next month as well, especially because it's now February. Valentine's Day is around the corner. You've got the pinky looks. I think this is going to really help step up a couple of other looks. But we are going to look at the actual shade itself a little bit more. So this is what 25 uses looks like. And it's going to for sure take me at least another 25, maybe a little bit more. But with that being said, there's a chance that I might have this out next update because like I said, I wear this every day. So if that's the case, I can have this out next update and I can move on to level 2. But if it's not next update, I think it's going to be pretty close into the following month, so I guess April, where I would probably have this out. So if I'm not leveling up in March, I will be leveling up in April, which is really exciting. And I hope I can get something really easy so that I can keep some really good progress going and make it through a lot of these palettes this year. So even though I had said at the beginning of the intro last month that I would have been happy if this was a level 2, I probably would have still been happy, but knowing how difficult it is to hit pan in a matte shade in this formula is difficult. 2 of them, I would have been focusing on this shade and this shade right here. And I would have still been enjoying it, but just putting this much effort and focus into the one shade is quite a bit. So I am happy that it's my level 1. And also another reason why I chose to go with a matte shade for this palette is because I actually still have one still intact, and I depotted the other one, but I had 2 of those 6-pan Pat McGrath palettes. One was a holiday release. I want to say it was from 2019, but I'm not 100% sure. The other one I still have, and it's like the mini version. I think it's of her first Mothership palette. It's like the green and black packaging. I don't remember the name of it, but I have the 6-pan palette of that. That one has been untouched, but the holiday version, I actually hit pan in the brown matte, and I have good dips going in 2 of the shimmers. Those are the only 3 shades that I kept out of that palette. And I was able to hit pan in that lighter brown matte that was in there, and I really enjoyed it, and I loved wearing the shade. I really liked the looks that came out of it. So knowing that I've already hit pan in a Pat McGrath palette or just a shade has like kind of helped me know that I can still do this. I don't remember how long it took me. It was a couple of years ago, but I don't know if it's the same formula, but I just like, that was a little bit of an accomplishment in itself. So knowing that I did that, I'm like, I want to do it again. So that is what I'm doing. So hopefully I can get some really good progress going on that shade. I don't need a whole lot. There's a lot of kick up with this shade, I'm sure, just with the matte shades in this palette, even though I've only worked on the other ones like the one time that I needed. I'm sure there's still a lot of kick up. I do try and clean it up and use it as well, the best that I can. So some of those uses aren't like completely dipping into the look or into the shade. It's just kind of like cleaning up the fallout more or less. But 25 uses, we'll see if it's going to be another 25 or a little bit more. I don't think I ever kept track with the other shade, more than likely didn't. So we're just going to have to see, but I'm really excited to actually hit pan, show this palette that much more love, see that pan in the palette at the end of it all. And I'm crossing my fingers it's done for March. That would be a lovely birthday gift to myself. But if not, the April update, I can like for sure guarantee that I will be leveling up. So stay tuned if you are interested in seeing how this works out. I'm super curious, so I hope that you guys are too. Let me know if you're doing this. I will come and watch you. Again, playlist is linked down below along with Sophie. She's the creator of this project. Same goes for everything. So that is it for now. So thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it, and I will see you guys all later. Bye.